You're listening to Speak Your Piece, a podcast about social determinants of health. I am your host, Dr. David Kelly.
I am sitting here with Dr. Carmack, who just had an interview today. This is her second interview. So she's popped in here. Thank you so much. We gave you a lovely water bottle, which hopefully will hold water for you.
Indeed.
So if you can, give us some of the background. Can you tell us how you became this scientist? I've read a lot of your research. Oh, yeah, it's really good. I have questions kind of with that also, though. But if you can, tell the viewers or listeners, how did you become the scientist you are?
So I think it started in undergrad. Well, actually, I started high school. High school, I decided that I wanted to study psychology. Went to Southern University in Baton Rouge to study psychology. And it was a phenomenal psychology department there. And some of the researchers were getting involved with NIH research, which wasn't typically seen at HBCUs, right? So my chair at the time, Dr. Muriel Harrison, she had just received a $5 million grant from NIDA, National Institute on Drug Abuse. Yeah. And so it was to study adolescents, rural African-American adolescents in the area, in the Baton Rouge area, and impacting their drug use, And so at this point, I got involved with a term called social determinants of health and health disparities. And so at that time, kind of at the end of my college career, I learned about health disparities. They taught us, they incorporated the material in classes. It was relatively new at that point. And so I knew this was what I wanted to do when I got involved with her research as an undergraduate, volunteer, non-paid kind of student. I lended my services there because I just wanted to see what it was about. And there was this idea that you're studying to be a scientist, you're a psychologist. We are giving you training for the science part of psychology. There's this idea that you can take a issue, a social issue, psychological issue, health-related issue, any issue in society. And you can create studies. We teach you how to go through the scientific method in these programs. You can create studies that will impact large groups of people. And so that was just kind of fascinating to me that she got money to travel to South Africa and work with drug use and other maladaptive behaviors there. She was doing it in Baton Rouge, going off. We had to make surveys. We had to decide what survey to use, how we were going to go through these procedures. When the data came in, we had to see what the data says in numbers. That whole process really fascinated me. And there is this idea that you can kind of make your own work for the betterment of society in this particular area that you're interested in. At that time, it was for me just general psychology. And she was studying particularly prevention behavior around drug use and adolescence in rural communities. So that's where it started. From there.
Are you from Louisiana originally?
Yes.
Okay.
Shreveport,
Louisiana. I got people out there.
Oh, wonderful.
My dad is people from DeQuincy, Louisiana.
Okay, yeah.
So he went to Grambling State. So I grew up going to a lot of Bayou Classic games.
Both my parents went to Grambling.
They're good people.
Yeah.
Well, I got my undergrad from Texas Southern.
Okay.
So, we're still SWAC, but there's a whole rivalry.
There is. Yeah. My dad and I always joke about it. When he wears his Grambling shirt, I have to go pull out my Southern shirt.
He's a G-man.
He's a G-man.
Okay.
So yeah, and I just can't give enough credit to the professors there in that psychology department who took it upon themselves to see me and guide me in a spark that they saw long ago in themselves, So hooked up with a researcher at Wichita State who does what I want to do. So that was the best advice I got from Dr. Reginald Rackley. If you're out there, Dr. Rackley, I still love you. But he gave me the best advice. He said, find someone who's doing what you want to do and go study them. And that's exactly what I did. I got online. I looked at 100 researchers. I came across one in particular at Wichita State University. And I'm doing a lot of name dropping, but I want to give credit where credit is due.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Dr. Rhonda K. Lewis. And so when I read her bio and her research, that's what I wanted to do. So I made a plan to go cold turkey talk to her.
Okay.
And, it was kind of kismet, and we clicked. It was kind of kismet after that. We just kind of structured the plan of what I wanted to do, but that's how I started.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I've read several of your articles that you've done. I've noticed there's a lot of themes, I think, with STIs and the consistent condom use. I was actually talking to my ex-wife about one of your studies. We were sitting around and kind of chopping up a little bit. And we were talking about the one that you did via Facebook. And you looked at how many hours a person spent online via Facebook, I think 3 hours or more, and how it led to certain sexual activities, etc.
Mhm.
What sparked that passion of looking at STIs, maybe even constant condom use, things of that nature, and how it intersects with social media?
Absolutely. So I think the first part of that question, why, STIs and HIV and sexual behavior, it's kind of at a young adolescent age, I realized in studying psychology, you understand that sex is a need. Sex is beneficial. It's a good thing in society, but
It's how we got here.
it's how we got here. Right. It's a good thing. It's a good thing for it makes society. Right. So as an adolescent, there was always this taboo around something that's supposed to be so natural. That's why I'm here. And you realize that there's a lot of social context kind of encouched in that view of sex being taboo, sex being bad. It's very pleasurable, but it comes with these consequences. Now, when you have babies, you got to have money to take care of them, those kind of things. So understood that sex was a very natural thing and that it was a need, a psychological need. But why are we so bent on don't do it, don't do it, don't do it? And I understand why, because of these negative outcomes that it produced, right? Particularly unwanted pregnancies and STIs.
Yes.
So STIs really kind of caught my attention because they're easy not to happen, right?
Okay.
Put on a condom, use a condom. And I know even that's kind of loaded because there are other emotions and things that get involved when people decide not to have sex with a condom when it seems likely to us social scientists that they should have, right?
Gotcha.
But it is highly preventable. STIs are highly preventable with behavioral changes, with environmental changes for you to carry out certain behaviors. So that's what really got me interested in sexual behavior and STIs, that this is a great thing. You shouldn't do it too soon because of various psychological, cognitive development, maturity reasons. But as far as the actual act, we have 20 and 30-year-olds catching STDs. They're very, very much so able to understand the want, the need, the desire for sex and how to seek it out. We're not talking about 12-year-olds. We're talking about 22 or 32-year-olds, right?
Gotcha.
So if you decide to have sex, that's a decision you make, make it with some knowledge behind what the effects are, how well you know this person, how many people you are giving that experience to, you are sharing that experience with. Using a condom, especially condom, if you have multiple partners, or even getting tested together, because you want to find out at 19 or 20 or 22, you don't want to find out at 42 after it's already progressed in your body.
Yeah.
There's tons of advancement now that can help you live a long, healthy life. There's some caveats there, especially when it comes to our African-American people, but you can live long. So finding out sooner is better than finding out later. And so how that kind of got involved with social media around the time that paper was published, I believe there was a lot of Tinder. There was a lot of Tinder use going on.
I've actually been to Tinder weddings.
Ah, interesting.
Where people have met on Tinder. And I've been to 2 of those actually.
Huh.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I met my husband on Twitter, but that's a secret. Don't
was
tell
it like
anyone that.
I mean, my mom was not going to tell anyone. Sorry, let's where y'all, so I've met so many people who've met online. I had a buddy of mine, Mike, who's very good at meeting people online. And I'm talking this is back in the MySpace days. I have never developed that. I'm great at meeting people in person. If we're at a event or a social something like that, then but I haven't navigated that space.
Mm-hmm.
So you met your husband via Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
which is, was it an angry tweet? Was it something political or something?
It wasn't. It was a cute tweet that he put out, and I kind of made a cute comment about it. And
did you slide in the DMs?
He slid into my
Gotcha, okay.
after my
that must have been
comment.
some tweet. Wow. I imagine it's framed in your house somewhere.
It should be. It should be. I remember what it was. But,
if you please, I'd love to hear.
well, so I'm blushing.
Well, give me what year this was.
This was 2010 or 11ish.
What was the tweet?
So the tweet, I just moved to Houston recently, trying to see what's out there. Twitter was all the rage at that time.
Okay.
So I was looking up, people from Houston, talking about Houston, and I started following him as well as a bunch of other people that I knew were from Houston. And one day he tweeted, "Man, these girls out here don't want to be tied down." And so I retweeted and said, "Well, it depends on what girls you're looking at." And
Okay.
so then he kind of bantered from there.
Nice.
And
Banter.
Love
banter.
Banter. We had a little banter
Okay.
back and forth. Went from that Twitter public space to the DM to the "can I have your number" to the phone call to the "let's meet,"
Wow.
all in like 4 days.
That is okay. Look at that.
Yeah.
If only Elon Musk could hear this story.
Really? Why would he be impressed?
Well, he owns Twitter now. And
Right.
I believe they're actually about to change the name, maybe to X or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably one of the things
I'm never on anymore.
With some of the research you're doing, specifically social media, I know some of it also overlapped or intersects with hookup culture as well.
Mm-hmm.
When I was describing this research, I was curious, are you looking to maybe link what you're doing with some of these social media companies to say, hey, people who are online over a certain amount of time, engage in this lifestyle, it might be more helpful if you have some advertisements geared towards some things. How do you see that research evolving in that space?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's like you hit the nail straight on the head.
Oh, thank you.
I'm glad that I love that it was insightful for, because we go on these sites and how many condom ads do we see? We know that you're going to Tinder, not everyone, but certain, I do know certain people that will go to Tinder in a new town just to find the closest hookup, because it shows locations and who's near you and things like that. And that is a culture for some men and women. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that as long as you are protecting yourself. There's nothing personally wrong with that unless you're protecting yourself.
Play safely, young people.
Play safely. But yes, I would love advertisements just there telling you that we know you're going to hook up, use a condom, all the different condom ads. It's big money in condoms. Also, checkups, just general health and wellness, keeping your body up. If my body is deteriorating due to HIV and continuing on to AIDS syndrome, I'm not going to be able to participate in your app. I'm not going to, and so you can always follow the trail to what's win-win, what would be beneficial for both of us. It's beneficial for us researchers, public health researchers, that people protect themselves and take care of themselves. And prevention is better than treatment. What's that saying? Ounce of prevention, yes. Pound a cure. So yeah, that's where we stand. They stand, well, I want engagement because I want money for ads. It's a perfect marriage. Put more ads that would benefit this and you will still get your benefit. Even in the long run, if we did a long drawn out kind of ecology study of it, you'd see that the money trickles to, if I'm not healthy, I can't engage. Do some things to corporations should take responsibility for our health.
Okay.
I do believe that. We give into them. I know we get in return, but there's some disparity there. There's some discrepancy there, right? There's some time maturation. Money matures. This is old money we're talking about. So even the fact that, well, I'm giving the service, you should completely pay me. You got your thingy, so you should be fine. No, there's other historical factors there that would make should make an entity more responsible in terms of public health. You know, we are the foundation, the most sensitive of society is your least healthy, you know?
Well, what's interesting, one of the projects we're working on here is our H-Town Chat project. And when we're looking at all the misinformation that was perpetrated by social media, I'm curious to see, how do we get the right information out there? How do we get in front of the right people who are living a certain lifestyle? On the other hand, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking now we're all adults. Is there a limited access to condom use or safe sex practices? You know, I've heard safe sex practices my whole life. I'm curious, where is the disconnect when it comes to constant condom use?
That's a good question. And I have a good answer, hopefully.
Okay.
But pushback. I don't think that it is pushback so much that it is lack of understanding. So with the current HIV research, we're doing educational entertainment to see if that will kind of increase your attitudes and knowledge about HIV prevention. And before we put this film together, we did some focus groups in the community to see what they thought, what were the myths, what were the disbeliefs. And we did this separately for males and females because it's, you know, sensitive topic, sex and all. We found particularly that with males, there's still this notion of, if she looks good, she must be clean. You know,
Okay.
She's got her hair done. She's got her nails done. She's pretty. She walks with a certain, you know, I can tell she's not a busted chick. So, you know, excuse my nomenclature, but you know, she's not busted. So she's good. She must be good. You know, we had people talk about those things. They look for those things in women. So there's a myth there. There's this overconfidence. I think it comes down to, and you might hear me say this more than once, a culture of health. The fact that this is really what you believe. You believe that you can ascertain a virus in someone's body by how much makeup they wear, by the quality of their nail design. You know, that kind of shocked us. And that was something that needs to be addressed. You know, no shade for it, no shame for it, but it's wrong. So let me clear that up for you.
Well, let me explore that space real quick. So that's the male point of view from the men you spoke with. Why do you think African-American females may not be pushing for their lovers to wear condoms?
Absolutely. So the biggest thing with the African-American females that we talked to had to do with trust. Using a condom means no trust. If I pull out a condom, that must mean I'm getting down with everyone. This is what they perceive that the man would believe. And we're talking about, with this particular line of research, heterosexual relationships, man, woman. So a lot of the women believe that, well, if I have a condom, then he's going to think I'm having sex with someone else. Also, around that same vein is, we've been together so long. You know, we've done this so many times this way so long. So we must be right for each other. He must be clean. I haven't been sick yet. You know, and for both groups, the kicker is that HIV, the virus, can lay dormant in your system up to 10 years. There have been many cases of that, you know, so it's, you know, who did you have sex with 10 years ago? Who did you have sex with 3 years ago? Gotcha. You know, so it's that kind of thing with both the men and the women. When you mentioned that there are condoms available, so a lot of stores do still have condoms behind the glass. We hate that. The public health researchers, we hate that. That's very, that affects me. Little things in your environment are going to affect your behavior.
Those are anti-theft glass, correct?
Yes, it is anti-theft glass. So let's not steal, but let's not have to go through the embarrassing experience of potential judgment when we just want to protect ourselves. We found that people, you know, you're standing there at the glass and and everyone's passing by looking at you, and, you know, they're thinking you're going to have sex tonight. Like, that's what you're going to do. Shame on you, you know, and you're right.
Well, in my head,
you're just trying to pick the right one. And then you have to call someone, and it's aisle 16. We need the condom
16,
case. Right. The condom case open ASAP.
There's no wedding ring on his finger. This man.
Young lady's been waiting for 12 minutes, you know. So that's one of the things. I have to walk up twice because nobody's come and I'm still here, you know. That and with certain people that is a deterrent. A lot of people they are mentally overloaded in this state of society now. It's like, I don't want to,
my pushback, and I always try to give some
I love it.
Constructive pushback. We live in a day and age where everything is out there. I'm curious to see if these same people who are maybe embarrassed to look behind or get the condoms that are behind the glass, I'm curious what part of their lifestyle they have out there when it comes to social media. It's interesting where people draw the line or distinction when they become shy about something. Like, wait, you're shy about this, which could save your life, but I looked through your social media and Jesus, everything from how you vote to what you ate that morning is everything is out there, but this is where you're bashful?
Yes. From a psychological perspective, the first thing that comes to mind is we do things that get us praise. That like button is probably the worst invention in social media ever.
But if you want to like this for the algorithm, I so appreciate that. Thank you so much. Please continue.
Yes. So
the evils of the like button.
Aside from this podcast, the evils of the like button. Yeah. So women and men are getting praise for that. That's praise. And you're going to do what makes you feel good. It feels good to be praised. It feels good to have your ego stroked. It feels good to be appreciated, you know, even genuinely appreciated, even aesthetically, even superficially appreciated. That feels good to people, especially an adolescent mind and a young adult mind. So they're getting reinforcement for those things. They're not getting reinforcement for wear a condom, get a condom, acquire a condom, know how to use a condom. That's another thing in the men's focus group, something that you mentioned. A lot of the men, and these were 30 and 40-year-olds, mostly single men, some were married. They did not know how to properly put on a condom.
I got you.
Properly. Yes. Yeah. And so that's another thing. It can only work.
There are a couple ins and outs when it comes to the condom use thing. We dealt a lot of old wives' tales. A young man would say, you know, he'd put 2 of them on. And the friction, I would tell him that the friction between the 2 will make them pop.
Right.
There's no...
That's not a good...
If you feel that this person is a danger to you, but you still want to do these activities, there's some cognitive decision makings that...
Absolutely.
We should probably just say, let's talk this through.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we make it for the you know, benefit of pleasure and mental satisfaction and chemical status. There's a lot of chemicals that go on that are beneficial to you. So yeah, we make those decisions even knowing that this is a risk, but the feeling is gonna be better when I have this experience. So
gotcha.
And that's the problem. Like, you know, you can still have that experience and that feeling because you need it, that you need those chemicals, but do it safely if you're out there, you know?
So you said earlier that you're working on some entertainment type that's really on the precipice of talking about condom use and safe sex. With that, since we've kind of talked a little about the lack of positive reinforcement when it comes to condom use, are you looking at maybe including that into the entertainment you're doing? That, hey, if a person reaches for a box of condoms at a store, it'd be so funny that like balloons fall down from the ceiling and just confetti.
That'd be great.
That is like, hey, good job. Congratulations on keeping you and the community safe.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. So with the videos that we're doing, we're pilot testing. We're in the middle of pilot testing one of them. So that one has already been completed, and it's more along the lines of, we went for, do you remember when like Insecure was a webisode?
Mhm.
It had webisode. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
just kind of like that.
I have a friend of mine who has a shop off Alameda,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a wig store
Mhm.
off Alameda. She was roommates with her in California.
Very interesting.
So she's the one who told me about this. Was a long time ago when I used to work at the Houston Housing Authority. She told me about the website that she was. I was a fan then of her website because I'm like, that is so clever.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the YouTube was still kind of the wild, wild west a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So the production value and everything, I thought it was so really cool. I don't have cable, so I can't watch her HBO show. But I was like, I'm such a huge fan of this. I thought it was Awkward Black Girl. That was the name of the
it was.
yeah.
Yes, Awkward Black Girl. Yeah.
And I was like, this is genius.
It
This is so
was.
cool. And it was very awkward, but I am a fan of Black surrealism.
Mm-hmm.
So shows like that, Atlanta, things of that nature.
Oh, wow. That's what we're trying to do. That's exactly. So this one is kind of the first, we're thinking of it as the first webisode, and there's a scenario that happens. It's about 12 to 14 minutes long. So it is kind of like a webisode more so than a quick clip or skit. But there's a story there, and it's about 4 friends, and they're coming together for a reunion, and things get divulged. And so while things get divulged and they're gathering for a specific purpose. They're gathering because the 5th in their crew, he's now dead from AIDS.
Gotcha.
And so they're coming together to celebrate him. And some things come out about when we were in college that's supposed to teach you about prevention, STI and HIV prevention. Some myths. One of the friends is a doctor, so he's able to, man, don't you know you can't wear lambskin condoms? That's not that won't protect you.
So that's okay.
They do.
Okay.
They
For people
do.
who are allergic to
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's how they are
Latex,
marketed. But plastic works just fine if you're allergic to latex.
Okay.
And keeps STIs out. Lambskin will not.
Gotcha.
So little different tidbits like that come out while you're listening to what happened to him back in college, what happened to some of the other people and the relationships that they have. And by the end of the little webisode, there are some question marks. We kind of leave you hanging.
Okay.
So it could go on. We could explore each of these characters because they are very different. We have,
That'd be cool.
the hot girl that always protects herself, and she's always out. She's still out there, and she's doing, because it's 10 years since they've been in college. They're millennials.
And she's still in the streets.
And she's still in the streets, but she's protecting herself. So that's her kind of. And then we have the doctor, and we have another friend, and another female friend. But their stories are very interesting and how they intertwine. But the point is that we're giving you a lot of information to remember. And maybe if you hear it in this entertaining, surrealistic story, then it will stick.
So how can people find out about this show? Or
So the study is still under testing. So there are only a select group that have been able to see it. We test them before they watch the film. They watch the film, and then we test them after the film.
So it's like a T-test? You give
yes,
some questions? Okay.
Absolutely. You're exactly right. And so far, we found out that it's highly significant. It's highly significant that this video is increasing HIV attitudes and knowledge about HIV prevention.
Nice. So if this webisodes that you guys are going to do, if they need a lovable Black friend,
yes,
who is mochaccino skin, broad shoulders, debonair smile, Denzel-esque quality, I'm just throwing it out there. Like I'm available.
Yeah,
and I'll even play the guy who's wrong about
that.
Like what you can what. Say
so
what?
we have so the guy that they're there for, you never see him because we might need a flash. We've talked about him so much in this episode. We might need a flash to see what he was really like.
Gotcha. I would love to be that character. Just that is so fun. Like that is.
I will. When you get a phone call, we get some funding. We need some funding.
Dude, I would do that for free. That is hilarious. If I got to do
get a phone call.
If I got to play the guy that all the women are swooning over, dude, hey, put your checkbook away.
Yeah, Josh. I think his name was Josh.
I can pull off Josh. He looks like a Josh.
Yeah, you can do Josh.
That's awesome. Well, A little bit of a segue.
Mm-hmm.
There's another study you did, and you were looking at vaccinated Hispanic mothers when it comes to vaccinating their children against HPV.
Mm-hmm.
And you were looking at some of the feedback they were giving from doctor's appointments. And I found it so fascinating that these different groups of women were going to different doctors, but having different experiences when it comes to either trying to take the vaccine or asking about the vaccine. So people are hesitant to vaccinate against HPV. I'm not sure if that's being pushed still.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts with that? Your research was, I thought was very interesting with that.
Yeah. So the HPV, that there is a vaccine. There was a push for it, maybe around the time of that research, maybe 2015-ish and prior, maybe 2010, 2015. You would see a lot of commercials on get your children vaccinated for HPV. They've kind of waned off in recent years, especially with our pandemic, taking a practically 3 years, of our living space and mental space. So it's kind of gotten pushed to the back burner, but knowing that there is a vaccine out there that males are the main carriers for HPV. Okay. Now they'll never get cervical cancer because they don't have a cervix, but they are the carriers. So in sexual contact, it takes about 6 times for a woman to have sex, and she is definitely exposed to HPV. So many women have had HPV, and it's a virus. There's more than one virus in your body right now that your body's fighting off just fine. So don't get scared there. But there are certain strains of HPV that are high risk cancerous, and you don't know which one you got, So the thing is getting our young males vaccinated. I think it starts from like 7. You can start getting them vaccinated at 7 or 8 years old. They won't have HPV. They won't be a carrier. So fun fact, the jury is still out on whether condom use is beneficial for HPV in particular, because HPV can live on the skin. So even if you put on the condom, you're having certain types of sex, you will be able to transfer HPV. Mm-hmm. So back to vaccinations. My 10-year-old gets vaccinated. He won't have a chance to give it to anyone, because even if a woman does have it later on in his future, he's immune against it. So he will never be able to give it, to pass it along, And then women, little girls, adolescent girls can get it as well. I think it starts at 7 years old as well. And that way, if they do encounter sexual experience with a man who does have it, who wasn't vaccinated, it won't affect them because they are immune. So after this happens for a few generations, if it happens the way we would like it to happen, we won't have to worry about HPV, right? It'll just be another one of your vaccinations like MMR or polio or measles or something. So that's kind of the hope of public health when we come out with these vaccines, that it will permeate through the population and over generations. We won't have to worry about this again.
What's fascinating to me is when you're looking at, the vaccinations and stuff like that, and it did become very politicized, but with that, how do we ensure that people are having some sort of uniform experience when it comes to visiting these healthcare physicians, no matter the race, gender, ethnicity? HPV vaccines are good for everyone.
Right.
How do we ensure that everyone has access to this vaccination information?
So the vaccine hesitancy, I know that there was a lot when the COVID vaccine came out so early, and a lot of minority populations were very skeptical. Nonetheless, being the African American community, for very valid reasons, very valid historical reasons. But what comes to mind is a culture of health. I got to go back to a culture of health, understanding that beliefs about health, our beliefs about our destiny, our beliefs about how to live as long a life as we can starts at home, starts in the family. And not only should that be go to school, get good grades, get an education, get a good job. It should be about your health too. You know, when was the last time you had your checkup? Mm-hmm. You know, our African-American men are notorious for not getting their required checkups, especially at a certain age, right? Yes. So a little thing like that should be regular. I think these things should be regular. And when it comes to getting that information, getting the accurate information, I think that is public health's plight. To get the information, that's what the field was created for, to understand the health of the public, to empower the public to be healthy. And so there's some systematic environmental things going on too, where this should be just as common as the Jack in the Box commercial at night. How many times does that same Jack in the Box commercial comes on when you're watching TV in the middle of the night? You know, how many get your checkup commercials have you seen? You see all the commercials for the medicines, right? All the pharmaceuticals, you know, if you have this, and this, and then they read you off that long list of...
I love this. There's a montage of a person who are playing baseball or riding a horse, and they're reading off this laundry list of, oh my God.
That's funny. The end credits in the webisode mocks that. It's kind of a mockery of that, and then tells you, you know, all the things that the condom can do for you. Yes. You know, I repeat, there's not a vaccine for HIV. One more time for folks in the back.
Gotcha.
And we're at a picnic, and it's that.
Okay.
But I want that to be just as general as, you know, the vaccines, the prevention. So we got a lot for treatment. Okay. Because treatment makes a lot of money. People, you know, they will buy the pill. You'll buy the pill, you'll accept the treatment and the diagnosis. What about the prevention? Like, how much money are we putting into the prevention side of it so that people will live longer lives? And the thing is, if you follow the money train, you live a longer life, you can contribute more to society, and you can have this currency flowing back and forth. Can't get any more money out of me if I'm dead.
Last question for us. I know you're busy. We thank you so much for the time that you've given to us.
I'll say it fast.
Cervical Cancer Podcasting Initiative. Mm-hmm. This is a new podcast that you are starting. Can you tell us more about that? When can we expect it? What's going on?
So this particular initiative is also a grant from the HRI and the National Institute of Minority Health and Health Disparities. And it's similar to kind of the HIV study. We just took a different approach to gathering the information. So phase 1 is information gathering from the people. Phase 2 is creating this intervention, which is the video, and then testing it.
Gotcha.
So it's very similar. Okay. They're both very similar in that way. It's just that with the cervical cancer, we collected the information a little differently. But when we put the information into the video, we're currently in testing that video, as pilot testing that video as well. It's a very short skit. It's about 5 or 6 minutes. Because with those kind of, you know, the sex is, you know, sexy and appealing and interesting and but we didn't want to bore women we didn't want it to sound like a lecture. And so it had to stay very short and sweet. So that's how we did that video. And this will be kind of my second podcast, actually third, including this morning interview, kind of talking about it. But what we want to do on our end is just introduce people to the research and just talk about these issues. I have a great research assistant who will be working with me throughout the next few years, Taylor Coleman, and she's ready. She is ready to talk. So we want to explore, you know, what's keeping you from doing it, the various social determinants of health. What do little girls need to know? What do moms need to know? We just want to explore all of the different areas. Because one thing we found in this research is that mothers are not talking to daughters about this. Goes back to that culture of health. It needs to be regular. You know, it used to be called an annual. It's not called an annual anymore because you only need it every 3 years now.
Oh, okay.
But that's how efficacious the procedure of cervical cancer is. Cervical cancer is 93% preventable. Nice. 93. Then Johns Hopkins, some Johns Hopkins authors will claim 100% preventable because it's that easy to cure when you catch it early.
Gotcha.
Yes, it's literally they scrape it out and you go on about your way. But you need insurance to do this. It's a medical procedure.
Yeah.
You need money. You need to know to go get it. And that's when I went to the efficacious, we can detect it 3 years out and still save your life at a 93% rate. That's
Okay.
how easy this is to cure. But why are Black women in particular dying at a faster rate?
Why do you think that is?
The culture of health, the information, the culture of health, which includes the family unit, community talking about it, seeing it, being exposed to it. So that's public health there. So we got the family, we got public health. We also have access to care, which includes insurance. The Affordable Care Act, I believe it is, in most plans, it is 100% covered. It is a preventative appointment that you can get through the Affordable Care Act for those type of plans. But women who don't know that, they can still go to the Affordable Care Act insurance plans, women who don't have insurance, who don't have clinics near them. So here we're talking about the environment, how the environment needs to be set up to promote our healthy living. And the thing is, we're not asking for anything outlandish.
So we are all done. How can people contact you? How can they reach you if they want to work with you, read more about the studies you're doing, or see some of these other things you're doing? How can people contact you?
So my email would be the best right now. We are working on my research lab is working on the social media site where we want to kind of house all of these things and what's been going on, let people know. So you can look for that around, let's say, November, December, before the end of the year. But at the moment, you can reach me at my official UH email, and it's ccarmack@central.uh.edu. That's CCARMACK @central.uh.edu.
Awesome. People will reach out to you. Thank you so much for being involved with us. We look forward to the work coming out. Did you enjoy the experience?
Thank you for having me. This was loads of fun. I apologize for all the laughter, but this was a lot of fun.
Thanks for listening to our latest episode. If you like the content and want to help us grow, do me a favor. Like, share, and subscribe to the Health RCMI channel. Also, tell a friend. Special thanks to our producer, Allison Medley, senior graphics designer, Natalie Shipler, and, as always, our fearless leader, Dr. Esmenario Bassi. I am your host, Dr. David Keller, leaving you with one simple message. Do good things.